Hey there folks, today's episode is a certification guide for the Combat Medic class in PlanetSide 2. The intention of this video is not to run down every certification in great detail, but to get you very effective on the battlefield as quickly as possible. We'll briefly run down the most important traits and abilities of the Combat Medic, and give you some recommendations for the order in which you should purchase your certifications, then look at the starting weapons for each faction and give you some alternatives depending on your playstyle. And finally, we'll drop down to some general strategy and get you effective at actually playing the medic as a class. Combat medics are both frontline fighters and support classes that can heal themselves and allies, and also bring friendly infantry and max units back from the dead. They have access to C4, which grants them versatility against vehicles, and assault rifles, which operate well at almost any range. They are not meant to just sit on the sidelines supplying friendlies with heals. They can fight just as well as any other infantry class, and are even as survivable as a heavy assault in an extended firefight. The very first thing I recommend you do on your medic, and honestly any infantry-based class, is to put at least 1 point into flak armor, or nanoweave. Now flak armor protects from explosives, and even the first level will keep you from getting instigated by proximity mines or claymores, as long as you're not within the center radius. Explosives are extremely abundant in this game, and they're almost impossible to avoid. So until you get a feel for the class as a whole, and want to specialize, I suggest going with flak armor. Nanoweave is a valid alternative as well, and a lot of people run it due to being very synergetic with the medic's healing abilities, and if you have no issue with explosives and are usually dying from bullet damage, then go ahead and grab nanoweave instead, and to a lesser degree nanoweave is also going to help you against explosives. At maximum rank you're going to get 250 additional health, because it's 50% of your 500 base health. So you'll end up running 750 health total at maximum rank. And I'm stressing the maximum rank bit because it's pretty expensive certification-wise to get there. However, if you have at least 2 ranks of nanoweave armor, you will be able to survive a headshot from a sniper rifle from medium range and further, if you have full shields and health to begin with. The second thing we want to do is pump some certs into our healing gun and our active ability. These two cert lines are both the most important and most powerful aspects of the medic class, and both cert lines are relatively inexpensive as well. It doesn't matter much with the exact order for leveling these things up, but you should definitely favor the medic gun over your active ability. Medic gun is by far the most important thing in the game for the medic class. So for the sake of keeping things clean, we're just going to say that you're going to put the next 60 certs into your medic gun. The higher the rank of your medic tool slot, the more experience you'll be pulling in, and additional ranks is going to decrease the time it takes to bring someone back to life, and increase the distance at which you can use it. Both of these elements equate to more experience per minute for you, and it will also keep you from being a sitting duck for too long while you're trying to bring people back to life. You will want to bring it to at least rank 5 eventually, but for now, rank 3 is inexpensive while we establish the fundamentals of the class. After those ranks into your medic gun, I put at least 11 certs into your ability slot, so that's the first 2 ranks. The medic's active ability heals the medic and nearby allies while it's active. This and your medic tool are the class's bread and butter, and the main way that you'll be pulling in experience aside from good gunplay and revive grenades, which we'll talk about much later. But like I said, the exact order does not matter, and the first rank of your ability slot only costs 1 cert, so you might as well throw that in there when you get the chance. Next we're going to fill the utility slot pretty early on. I'd grab the restoration kit for 30 certs, but if you don't primarily play the medic, then you might consider grabbing the standard medical kit instead. The difference, in short, is that the restoration kit is going to heal you over 6 seconds, which allows you to stack healing effects. Now restoration kits are used more as a stim pack rather than an emergency heal like a medical kit. The med kit heals you to full instantly, but rarely will your health be so low and your active ability be on cooldown where you'll feel like you're not wasting it. In this clip you're going to see me use the restoration kit effectively, and it's definitely going to keep me from dying, and it's something that would not have happened if I had a medical kit. After you fill out your utility slot, we want a scope for our weapon, which is going to cost you 30 certs. I am a big advocate of getting scopes on your weapons because I feel that it directly contributes to your ability to kill enemies easily, and which translates to a better experience overall for you. So I suggest the 2x option or a night vision scope regardless of which faction you're playing on. And the faction starting weapons are all very well rounded, but they operate within the shortish to medium ranges. So the 1x, the 2x, or the night vision scopes are very, very helpful for giving you that cleaner bead on your target. But if you do like the iron sights, then just ignore this and carry on. We're going to break for a minute and talk about the individual weapons from each faction and give you some alternatives to consider, but we'll be coming back to talk about grenades and then roll into some strategy from there. Unlike the heavy assault, where the traits of the starting weapons vary wildly from faction to faction, the medic class starting weaponry bears more similarities, namely that they all operate within about the same effective distance, which is plus or minus medium range. And also they have an annoyingly high first shot recoil multiplier, which makes the weapons a bit more annoying to manage from a recoil standpoint. If you want to learn about recoil compensation techniques, first shot multipliers, and how recoil works in PlanetSide 2, then just click on the annotation or check out the link in the video description below. The Vanu Sovereigns start with the Pulsar, which is an extremely accurate weapon over range, and it also has the quickest reload speed. But it does do the least amount of damage of any faction starting weapon due to having only moderate bullet damage and slightly above average rate of fire. The smartest way to make use of the Pulsar is to keep to medium long distance engagements, as you don't really have the firepower to stand toe to toe with a weapon oriented for even medium close to close range combat. But if you want a weapon specialized for close or for long range combat, then the H-TAC V45 is a close-range hip-fire beast and is also going to give you a slight movement speed bonus over other weapons while aiming down sights. If you're looking for a medium to long-range weapon, I recommend the CME, and that functions very well at those distances, but I wouldn't really use it in close range. I'm sure people will bring up the Corvus as a long-range alternative as well, but I honestly can't recommend the weapon in good conscience, because it's statistically worse than the NC's starting weapon in almost every way, save for that it is a bit more accurate. The NC start with the lowest rate of fire weapon in the game, but also the most powerful. The Gauss rifle fires 100 rounds per minute slower than the Pulsar, but still ends up dealing more damage per second. It also has a very short reload speed that's only slightly longer than the Pulsar, with a short reload that still stays under 2 seconds, and that's extremely fast for any weapon. The Gauss rifle functions best at medium to medium close range, but gets a bit unwieldy beyond that. Even in close range combat, the Gauss rifle can still hold its own well enough, not as well as a weapon specialized for it of course, but much better than the Pulsar. And if you're looking for a close range weapon, the GR TAC-22 is probably my favorite medic assault rifle in the whole entire game. You get that same movement speed bonus while aiming down sights, and you get a decent hipfire cone even without attachments, and it has an incredibly fast rate of fire. I actually run a forward grip on my GR22 because I tend to aim down sights a lot, and the weapon is still very viable at medium ranges. For long distance engagements, the NC don't actually have a lot of well-defined options. You have the Reaper DMR, which is a weapon that I'm not going to suggest to a new player because it is very difficult to use well, but your best option might just be to go with the Gauss Rifle S with high velocity ammo, a compensator, and a forward grip. And if you're an experienced player, this is going to sound strange to you because the S weapon variants are usually used for their grenade launcher attachments, but the Gauss Rifle S has a relatively low first shot multiplier, making it a lot easier to handle at range while bursting the weapon. Other than the Gauss Rifle S with those attachments, the standard Gauss Rifle is probably going to be the best available option for a newer player. Like all TR weaponry, the T1 Cycler has a higher ammo pool than any other faction's weapon. It also has the longest reload, is the most inaccurate, but it fires the fastest. The accuracy problems limits the weapon to medium close range engagements, but the rate of fire lets it stand toe to toe with other weapons in close quarters, even those specialized to the role. If you want to emphasize that close range aspect, the TAR or the Terran Assault Rifle is my favorite close quarters rifle for the TR. It gives you that movement speed bonus while aiming down sights, and it's got a very reliable hip-fire cone of fire, and it has a high rate of fire. The Cycler TRV is also seemingly oriented for close quarters combat, but I'd use the TAR over the Cycler TRV any day. Even though the Cycler TRV has a higher rate of fire, it has a worse hip-fire cone of fire. It doesn't give you the aim down sights movement speed bonus, but most importantly, it pulls to the left, which makes recoil compensation very difficult if you're used to compensating for weapons that pull to the right. And most weapons in the game do pull up and to the right. My favorite long-range assault rifle for the TR is most likely the Sabre TAC-13, which is a 2-round burst weapon that does really well out of the box without any attachments. It's very accurate, it's a lot of fun, and I highly suggest it to anyone who is good at using a burst fire weapon. But if you're not so keen on using a burst fire weapon, the viable long-range options for TR are somewhat limited. And to help solve those issues that the TR and the NC have when it comes to long range is the NS TAC-11A. And the NS-11A is available to any faction as it's a common pool weapon. It has a 35-round magazine, so it's a nice compromise between the TR and the non-TR factions, and it's very accurate over distance. As an added bonus, it also gives you the same movement speed bonus while aiming down sights as the close quarters weapons we talked about earlier. The downsides to the NS-11A are that the damage and rate of fire are middle of the road, and that the gun pulls to the left, just like the Cycler TRV. For people like myself, the left recoil pull is the biggest hurdle, so do spend some time training in the VR training room, or run a trial before making a decision to purchase. Just remember that once you do purchase it with Station Cash, it's going to be available to all of your characters regardless of faction as long as they're using the medic class, because it is a nanite systems weapon. Another notable benefit or downside, depending on who you're talking to, is that the NS weaponry has a unique sound and tracer color. So enemies might ignore you based on the sound or the tracers that you're producing, as it won't sound like an enemy faction's weapons. As far as shotguns and SMGs go, they're completely viable on the medic class if you're looking to specialize in close quarters. I haven't given them a rundown specifically, but popular opinion says that the high capacity or the second generation SMGs are preferred over the original low capacity counterparts. For shotguns, I did put out a very detailed video about which will suit your playstyle best, and it's worth a watch if you don't already know what you're interested in purchasing. You can click the annotation now if you like, which will open a video up in a new window so you won't lose your progress here, or you can check out the link in the video description below. So let's get back to the cert side of things. We already covered your suit slot survivability with flak or nano weave, your ability to quickly revive and heal up allies, your utility slot by giving you a backup heal, and now we want to give you the option of a specialty grenade. I say option because the standard frag is always going to possibly net you a kill or two, but if you're willing to sacrifice that, then you can open up some new doors to you and your teammates. The combat medic has access to 2 specialty grenades, the nanite revive and the nanite healing. I'm not going to go over them in detail, as I did go into depth with these grenades in a separate review, but since I put out that review, my feelings toward them have actually shifted a little bit. I originally preferred the healing grenade over the revive, and it's somewhat useful for keeping yourself and your teammates alive, but it seems to be much less powerful now than the revive grenades are. And I say now, because with the introduction of the lattice system, the fights have gotten bigger, and the length at which a standard player will survive has gotten shorter. In a small-scale fight, the nanite healing grenade is useful because you and your teammates are going to be working cover to stay alive. You're exchanging shots and you're hiding. It's more like a game of tag than anything else. But in large-scale fights, you have just hordes of people dying at any given time, and being able to almost instantly bring all of those people back to life is not only very powerful, but it's very lucrative for you from an experience standpoint. So if I were to recommend a tactical grenade to replace your frag, I would suggest saving up and dumping the 400 certs into your nanite revive grenade. And after we've pulled our tactical grenade, I would suggest going back into the medic tool and dropping 100 certs to get to rank 5. And at this point, you're already an extremely effective medic. So where you go from here really depends on what you feel most comfortable handling. If you want to deal with vehicles to any degree, you're going to need to unlock C4, and that's going to cost you 200 and 400 certs for 1 or 2 bricks respectively. And it's completely optional, as most of the time spent playing a medic will be running around keeping your allies alive, but you already have the innate ability to heal yourself, so replacing your restoration kit or med kit with C4 is generally a smart, if expensive, decision. I'd suggest first placing a couple more ranks into your suit slot, then your active ability, and then your weapon. But spread things out and do what feels most comfortable. All of the suit slots are actually very good for the medic class, and they tailor very well to specific playstyles. But we did want to grab the flak or the nanoweave armor to begin with because it is very inexpensive, and it lets you immediately cross a threshold of usefulness that's pretty clear-cut. The other suit slots are generally pretty expensive to purchase or upgrade to the point where they are useful. Before we get into general strategy, I want to strongly advise that you stay away from the triage certification line. It's extremely expensive, and as of the time of creating this video, it's next to worthless. The cert does exactly what it says it does. The problem is that there's almost no reason to run it, as allies will usually be healed up before or after entering or exiting a vehicle. It's just a waste of certs for newer players and should only really be sorted into if you're a completionist looking to finish out the class. It used to heal max units, which could be especially useful for rumble seat max units in the harasser, but I'm not sure if it still does that anymore. As far as general strategy goes, I have a lot of strong emotions relating to this class, or rather to people not playing it correctly. The first thing that I want to say is simply to pay attention. I can't tell you how many times I've had medics just hovering around my corpse, and the corpses of allies just crouching in a corner and firing at enemies. Yes, the medic class is able to fight, but it's also the only one that can bring allies back to life. So if you've got tunnel vision and you're not resurrecting your nearby allies, you're doing it wrong. Sometimes corpses get bugged, sometimes the guy you'd be resurrecting is in a bad spot, and he'll be taken down very quickly. But most of what I see on the battlefield is just lack of general awareness. Well, two things I guess, lack of awareness and abundance of cowardice. Be brave as a medic. Taking risks is the most rewarding part of PS2 for any class. Sitting in a spawn room and just firing out the doors is what loses you battles and loses you territory. This goes double for medics. If you're not being the brave one, adventuring beyond that safe zone to try to bring allies back to life who are out there doing the right thing, then you're wrong twice over. I did mention this in passing just a moment ago, but I should probably emphasize it a little bit more. Do not resurrect allies that you know will get mowed down immediately. It's annoying for them and it just resets the respawn timer and it makes you seem like a really big jerk. Try to keep your allies topped off, especially after reviving someone they don't have any shields, and this is less of an issue when you have a max rank revive tool, but when you can and when it makes sense, top off your allies either with your medic tool or with your area of effect heal. Do not, however, wait around for allies to resurrect if they're being slow. I usually give it about 3 seconds at most. If they don't immediately resurrect, there are more important things that I can probably be doing. Allies know when they're being resurrected, so if they don't pop back up right away, then just move along. Your active ability is also extremely useful for dropping some heals on groups of allies as you move from place to place. When you're not trying to babysit your teammates and you have more pressing issues at hand, just turning your active ability on will be much appreciated. Pre-healing is also an effective counter to an impending drop in health. If you're running through a battlefield, you're likely to get shot, and the reaction time between noticing when your shields go down and you pressing the ability key could be the difference between living and dying. Because of that, I tend to keep the active ability on when I know that the bullets are flying, and on that same token you can also pop a restoration kit which will throw heals your way for the next 6 seconds, and this is usually long enough to get behind cover and think about returning fire. Funneling or stacking heals on a singular target between multiple medics is a good way to support your teammates as well. Usually it's to keep a heavy assault alive with the resist shield active, and for your awareness, resist shield actually reduces the incoming damage by 45%. So even if a heavy assault is down to his health bars, a couple of medics funneling heals on him can keep him standing for a very long time. And if you aren't already aware, you can revive friendly max units, and you should be prioritizing them as revive targets as well. Max units are powerful game changers when they're kept alive, and if they go down, they need to be revived first, so that engineers can start funneling repairs onto them again. Max units have a long cooldown when they're not certed into, meaning that if your friendly max decides to respawn because he doesn't think that a revive is on the way, then you're very likely going to be missing out on that game-changing element for a while. Revive grenades cannot revive downed max units, but they can revive allies in an area, which can be a major game changer as well. In this clip I'm in a TR max and you're going to see a never-ending supply of constantly resurrecting troops until I finally get taken out. And it's like they're zombies, they just don't stop coming and it's extremely annoying, if nothing else. And the medics who were tossing out these revive grenades were having a lot of experience for doing so. And speaking of experience, if you have a console nearby with the resources to keep spamming revive grenades, you can make bank thanks to the bigger fights caused by the lattice system. In certain bases like Tech Labs or Vanu Archives, there are consoles out in the open and within range of heavy fighting areas. Even in towers, you can just sit next to the console in the spawn room and continually toss revive grenades down the hole, and that's going to bring up allies that are getting taken out near the spawn room doors. Medics are the #1 experience generation class in the game at the moment, with engineers following in a close second. And it makes sense, the time to kill is extremely low, the battles are big, and the number of bodies just waiting to be resurrected are plentiful. A medic is always needed, and thanks to the sheer versatility of the class, they can fill the frontline roles as well as support. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel. And if you have any thoughts on the combat medic class you'd like to share, please feel free to post a comment or a video response below. Thanks very much, folks. Rel signing off.